The sermon for this morning is taken from Maria Valtorta's Volume 2, begins on page 228. Jesus is speaking to a small group of people. He says, "Listen, here on my knee I have a little boy who has spoken very wisely. Everything that is obtained by deceit becomes straw." His mother taught him that truth. It is not a tale, it is an eternal truth. What is done dishonestly is never successful. Because falsehood in words, deeds, and in religion is always a sign of alliance with darkness. Do not believe that the deeds worthy of achieving the kingdom of heaven are very noisy or showy. They are common, continuous deeds, but performed with a supernatural purpose of love. Love is the seed of the plant that sprouts in you and grows up as far as heaven, and in its shade all the other virtues sprout. I will compare it to the tiny mustard seed. How small it is. It is. It is one of the smallest seeds that man sows. But look how big and leafy it becomes when it has grown up, and how much fruit it bears. Love is the same. If you enclose in your hearts a tiny seed of love for your most holy God and for your neighbor, and if you accomplish your deeds guided by love, you will not fail in any of the precepts of the Decalogue. You will not lie to God by means of a false religion of practices, but not of the Spirit. You will not lie to your neighbor, behaving as ungrateful children, as adulterers, as too exacting husbands and wives, as thieves in business, as liars in life, as violent avengers towards your enemies. Look how many birds have taken shelter in this warm hour of the day among the branches of the trees in the garden. Before long, that mustard plant, which now is still very small, will be a real perch for birds. All the birds will come to the safe shade of those thick and comfortable trees, and their little ones will learn to fly safely among those branches, which are like steps and a net, which they can climb without falling. Such is the love, the foundation of the kingdom of God. Love, and you will be loved. Love, and you will bear with one another. Love, and you will not be cruel by wanting more than what is lawful from those who are under you. Love and sincerity to obtain the peace and glory of heaven. Otherwise, as Benjamin said, every action of yours accomplished, lying to love and to truth, will turn into straw. I will not say anything else to you. I will only say, always bear in mind the great precept of love, and be faithful to God the truth, to the truth in every word, deed, and sentiment, because the truth is the daughter of God. Let the work of bringing yourselves to perfection be continuous, as the seed continuously grows until it is perfect, a silent, humble, patient work. You may rest assured that God sees your struggles, and He will grant you a greater reward for overcoming your selfishness, for holding back a rude word, for satisfying a necessity without being ordered to do so, than if fighting in a battle you killed the enemy. The kingdom of heaven, which you will possess if you live as just people, is built with the little things of every day, with goodness, moderation, patience, with being satisfied with what one has, bearing with one another with love. Be good, live in peace, do not grumble, do not judge. God will then be with you. I give you my peace as a blessing and thanksgiving for the faith you have in me. Then Jesus turns to the woman saying, May God bless you especially because you are a holy wife and a holy mother. Persevere in virtue. Goodbye, Benjamin. Love the truth and obey your mother. My blessing to you, to your little brothers, and to you, mother. A man comes forward. He is embarrassed, and he stammers, But I am moved by what you say of my wife. I did not know. Have you no eyes or intelligence? Yes, I have. Why do you not make use of them? Shall I clear them? You have already done that, my Lord, but I love her. You know, the trouble is that one gets used to, and Jesus says, and one thinks that it is quite all right to exact too much, because the other one is more gentle than we are. Do not do that anymore. You are always in danger with your work. Be not afraid of storms if God is with you. But if there is injustice in you, be much afraid. Have you understood? More than you have said. I will do my best to obey you. I did not know. And he looks at his wife as if he saw her for the first time. Jesus blesses and goes out onto the little road. He resumes walking towards the country. So this morning the message has to do with love and sort of the mystery of it. Do you ever notice those times when something joyful or moving happens and you feel that pressure in your heart and your eyes just kind of start to leak and you can't really speak very clearly? It's like something happens. You become overcome with a physiological change. I know everybody in this room is familiar with that. That is the movement of spirit, and what's beautiful about that is that you can't really stop it. You can't really fake it either. When I was younger, there was certain game shows. I don't know if anybody remembers Truth or Consequences TV show. I don't know when it was, but anyway. They do all sorts of goofy stuff, but once in a while they would try to reunite people who hadn't seen each other in like 30 years or something. I don't know how they figured this all out, but so they would have one person, they'd sort of do the setup, and then I guess they would bring the other person out from behind, and the other person probably thought they were doing something else, and they'd see this person who hadn't seen in 30 years, and they would just like break into tears, and they would just be like so overcome with emotion. And that was hugely satisfying to watch. To watch the pure expression of love is something that we crave, we long for it. And why is that? Well, I think it's because it's true. It's the true movement of spirit. There's nothing fake about it. Just seeing that movement of love, that care between people. And why is it that we cry when we feel so moved? You would think that we would be happy and smiling. So there is a mystery about this thing called love. And it's a beautiful thing. And even though if you're in that state when you feel your heart get heavy and it's like you're so moved and you feel some mysterious force of love that is God, and you realize you can't speak because your voice breaks up and you start to, your eyes get a little bit watery. Hopefully you like that feeling. I know most people fight against it because we're worried that if people see that says something about us, as though we're weak or we shouldn't be exposing that. We definitely should be exposing that. Because when you speak from that place and when you expose that place, people feel close to you, they feel it's true. It's a movement of truth, and that's like a beautiful thing. You can experience that in movies a lot. There's just moments where somebody is overcoming triumph. I mean, even as I was hearing that last song today, there were so many lines in the song that were just like I couldn't even sing them because it felt so true. So how do we get to that place? Well, Jesus is saying that this is not a showy path. This is a day-by-day, sort of hour-by-hour, attending to the little details of your life and bringing this energy of love to it. I was meeting with somebody recently who had this confusion about, yes, but I look around, I've been trying to do the right thing all my life, and I look around and I see all these people thriving and succeeding who are not being honest. They're being deceitful. And wondering, is that how I'm supposed to be? Am I supposed to be angry at these people? Why is it that I do everything right and it doesn't work out? It's a long life, so we don't know how everything is going to play out. But Jesus says very clearly that everything that is done from a deceitful place eventually turns to straw, meaning it falls apart and it becomes revealed as having no foundation. Why does God allow it to persist for a while? I guess you got to chalk that up to the mercy of God. That God gives us the space to make mistakes and then recognize our mistakes and try to rectify our mistakes so that we may be forgiven and we may feel the grace of God in that. Many of you who've done the baptism, you'll be aware of in the retrospection we talk about seeking out the golden thread, meaning those times when you feel that God carried you when you probably didn't deserve it. When inside of your heart you knew that you were off, that you were being deceitful, that you were not true to yourself, that you were manipulating people, that you were working a situation. And instead of coming down hard on you, God allowed it in order that, with the hope that you might see it and you might seek to correct it. That energy of trying to live continuously in moderation and patience and disciplining yourself and being kind to people and also speaking truth to people and being assertive without being demanding, being persistent without being obnoxious. There's all these refinements constantly. He says, the process of perfection. Just take it day by day. It creates pressure, I understand. If you look around and go like, I'm doing this, nobody else seems to be doing it. Okay, well, that's not the right perspective. Let people do what they want to do. And trust that the rewards that await you are coming. I mean, all I can tell you is from my own experience is that it works out. It really does. Not maybe the way that you are envisioning, the way that you have become attached to because of your upbringing. No, it won't work out like that. It will work out according to what Jesus is teaching. That if you want to be liberated and be free, you have to be prepared to be freed from those things that do not allow you to be free, which includes relationships, and jobs, and circumstances that you may really want to come with you on this path. And unfortunately, most of them won't, because this waking up of the soul that is happening for you cannot be forced in other people. And it's a mysterious thing. It's the movement of love that your soul is responding to now. That's what gets you to come back to a place like this. And you can't explain it, right? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people were thinking like, I wish I didn't have to go to that place. Why? Because there's a lot of pressure. You know, it's unrelenting. That's not pressure from me. I mean, I want to be somebody who's an advocate for that unrelenting pressure because, as my teachers used to say, I know people. And when we take our finger off the pressure, people start to fall back into the stuff that is, you know, a little bit easier. And nobody really notices. That's not true, but you know what I mean? Like you can move in your circles and nobody really notices. But it's the soul in you that goes, no, I want to be held accountable to that pressure because I want to see what this all is about. And I want to be a facilitator for those experiences where people just feel that movement of love. And their eyes get weepy and their hearts get broken and there's just, it's a beautiful moment of truth. I want to be somebody who can be a channel for that. That's what makes life really meaningful. Does that mean that you won't have any fun and you won't have any friends and you won't have any, you know, of your own time? I haven't found that to be the case. I have found it to be the case that God sort of balances it all out. And there's times where you'll have time for meditation of your own, and there'll be times where you'll have vacation on your own. And you may be on vacation and there's a situation where you realize that that's your call to say something or do something. And then you get right back into your vacation mode. But that moment might change the life of somebody forever. Just because you have been refining and perfecting and keeping yourself available for this. So you have faced enough times those moments where you're like, do I have to do something here? Just forget about it. No, you go like, I can't unhinge. I see something that can be done, a kind word, give a little money, give a little bit of my own time, sit with somebody a little bit longer, talk to somebody who I kind of would rather just, you know, zone out. I force myself to do those kind of things and go, these are little non-showy, non-big production things that can have a dramatic effect on somebody else's life. Does God not do the same for you? If you make time to receive in meditation, and if you make time to pray, and if you make time to attend classes and services. One thing that's really changed for me lately, which I would say I probably knew, but now working with teachers and being, you know, called to be raised up into another initiation. These teachers who I was visiting in San Jose, they're very focused on the oral tradition of passing the wisdom and the teachings through, you know, a situation like this, where you sit there and you just hear it. And that's the thing that I've noticed a lot about the meditation courses and when there's one-on-one counseling, is that people can receive the truth through the teachings, and that can have a dramatic effect. That doesn't necessarily happen when you go to traditional therapy. Because you have somebody who is aspiring to be the channel for that truth to come through and to speak it with as much selflessness as they can. And that's what I experienced when I was in San Jose. It's like, here are people who really want me to grow into another level of connection. So they're willing to sit there and teach me, you know, and provide these lessons just through the oral spoken word. There's no, you know, we can't just put it on a video screen and go, well, hey, check out all these teachings. It's like there's something about being in the presence of somebody and feeling that movement of truth and spirit. And I love that. I mean, I used to love when I was at the Center of Light in Oakland and in Chicago, just sitting with the teachers and listening to them teach, and sitting with the priests and listening to the priests talk about stuff. So it is important to come and to be here, because I used to feel like if I wasn't at one thing, I was like, what happened? I want to know all the details about it, you know? And like I really felt that I was missing something substantial if I wasn't there. There can be also the feeling of like, well, what are my friends doing and what is happening in my social life and all that. But then when I would go back into that, and the conversation wasn't particularly deep or interesting, and people were complaining about stuff, or one person was rambling on about how great they were, and part of me was like, man, I really want to be in the presence of somebody teaching the truth. And slowly but surely, I really kind of moved away from some of that socializing that just wasn't feeding me in any way. And part of me would get frustrated, like I wanted to go, can't we talk about real stuff? Like what's really going on for you? You know, where are the challenges? Where are the triumphs? But that didn't really work out. So I became very committed to just being in the presence of teachers and learning and stuff. So I want you to go forth into this week and sort of go, love, comma, what do I really know about it? Try to be open. I mean, just think about the mystery of when your heart moves and your eyes get watery and you feel overcome with something. You know, that's the presence, that's the movement of love. That's different than being weepy and emotional because, you know, you're frustrated. I'm talking about when you know that God is real. And the lyrics of the songs sometimes can just hit those chords. And strive to live truthfully. Really do what is truthful to yourself. It is the road less traveled, and it's a longer road. At least it appears that way in the beginning. There are shortcuts to doing stuff that appear to yield you the results that you want. But try to take on the consciousness that, well, am I really being truthful about what I'm doing here? Am I really communicating? I mean, I remember there was a time when, you know, there was all sorts of stuff that we had to do when we were part of the Centers of Light. And so one time, myself, I was a novice, and this other novice, that means we lived in the order house. And so we were asked to rent this truck and go and deliver some stuff. I don't remember all the details. And then there was a priest who was this was in Oakland, there was a priest in San Francisco at some sort of like expo, and she was there at the table and was like, you know, just available to talk to people who wanted to explore a spiritual path. And she could have benefited from myself or this other guy, Aaron, at the booth with her. Even though we weren't priests, we could at least talk a little bit about being immersed in it. And I remember not wanting to go because I don't like those expos. I mean, from my work life, I just don't like being at them, right? And so I remember sort of purposely being sluggish in how we moved through this task that we had to do, so that at some point I could say, it's going to be too late by the time we get over the bridge. And so later on, you know, she was like, so what happened? I was like, well, we got kind of caught up. I was like, no, that's not what happened. She laid it out. She said, what happened is that you didn't want to come, so then you slugged through this task, and so I didn't get any help. And she wasn't apologetic about it, and it was like, okay, yeah, you got it. That is what happened. I'll be going to my room to meditate now. You know, it was cool because I liked the fact that somebody could read the truth in it. And I didn't mind being held accountable to that. Okay, so in that moment I could have said, I don't really want to go and do this, but she needs help, and this is what I'm called to do, so why, get weird about it? Well, I was not that far along, and so I found a way that I thought to kind of like fudge it so I could go, well, I did want to go, but that wasn't actually honest. I should have, when she called, I should have said, like, I don't really want to go, and then she would have said, well, you need to come, because I'm telling you that that's what you got to do. And I say, okay, I'll go. I would have, actually, because that's kind of my style, but because there was some wiggle room, I tried to, fabricate something. And so she could feel it, because when you're at that level, you can feel the energy of it. It's not so mysterious. So as you go through your day in your life, as summer comes upon you, and there's a lot of temptations to break from the truth and explain it to yourself in a way that kind of makes sense, try to hold yourself accountable. Try to feel the presence of God going like, Well, I know what's going on. It's up to you what you're going to do. And trust that by moving in the direction of truth, there's always a flow of grace. It's like you're always biking with the wind behind you. It may not appear evident in the moment, but it's kind of a cool challenge to put yourself to that test, to put yourself to live by that truth and see what happens.